The moon was full and merciless that night. Its silver light poured through the trees like liquid fire, bathing the sacred clearing in a ghostly glow. Every wolf in the valley had gathered, hundreds of them, in human and beast form alike, encircling the ancient stone dais where the alpha heir stood. Ava could feel the pulse of the moon mark beneath her skin, a burning brand just above her heart, glowing faintly beneath her cloak. The mark had appeared the moment she turned 19, and with it came the unshakable truth every wolf feared or longed for: a destined mate. Her mate. Luca Draven. The next alpha of the Silver Fang pack, tall, proud, cruelly beautiful, with eyes the color of the storm. He was the one the moon had chosen for her. And tonight, before the entire pack, he was about to destroy her. The wind carried the scent of crushed pine and raw energy. Ava's breath misted in the cold air as Luca's voice echoed through the clearing. I, Luca Draven, heir to the Silver Fang Alpha line, reject you, Ava Rowan, as my fated mate. The words sliced through the silence like a blade. Ava flinched, feeling the invisible thread between them snap or try to. The pain was instant, searing through her chest as though claws were tearing her heart apart. The crowd gasped, murmurs spreading like wildfire. No one dared speak against an Alpha's choice, but the tension in the air was palpable. She could barely breathe. Her knees trembled. Yet she forced herself to lift her chin. Her voice, when it came, was steady, soft but laced with steel. You can reject the bond, Luca, she said. But you can't unmark the moon. Her words hung in the air. For the briefest second, something flickered in his gaze: regret, maybe. But it was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by the cold arrogance he wore like armor. You're not fit to stand beside me, he said flatly. The moon must have made a mistake. The crowd gasped again, a collective intake of breath. The moon never made mistakes. But no one spoke. Ava felt the heat rise behind her eyes. Not from shame but from fury. The moon's light pulsed against her skin, as though the goddess herself bore witness to her humiliation. Without another word, she turned and walked away. Each step was agony, the bond screaming for her to stop, to turn back, to beg him to reconsider. But she didn't. She wouldn't. The forest swallowed her whole, and behind her, the pack began to whisper. The rejected Luna. The girl the Alpha cast aside. The one cursed by the moon mark. 2 weeks later. The Silver Fang territory slept under a veil of fog. Ava sat at the edge of the cliffs, staring down into the valley where the pack's lights shimmered like dying embers. Her heart still bore the echo of the rejection. It hadn't healed, not really. Bonds like that didn't just fade. She traced the faint outline of the mark on her skin. It no longer burned, but it pulsed, a quiet reminder of what had been stolen from her. She had been the pack's herbalist, the one who healed wounds, soothed pain, and mended bones. But no one came to her now. They treated her like a curse. Like a wound they didn't want to reopen. Only the moon seemed to care. And tonight, its light felt different, sharper, like it carried a warning. The air shifted. Leaves rustled. A low growl rippled through the darkness behind her. Ava turned slowly, heart pounding, her senses flaring. A wolf emerged from the shadows, enormous, black as obsidian, with eyes that gleamed amber like molten gold. Not Luca. Another Alpha. The beast stepped forward, and as it crossed the moonlight, it shifted, bones snapping, fur receding, until a man stood where the wolf had been. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his dark hair tousled, his jaw shadowed with stubble. His eyes locked onto hers with unnerving intensity. You shouldn't be alone this far from your pack, he said. His voice was deep, rough, carrying the weight of command. I'm not part of them anymore, Ava replied quietly. So I heard, he said. The Alpha-S rejected mate. Her spine stiffened. Do you make it a habit to spy on strangers? Only the interesting ones. He took another step forward. She could smell the faint scent of pine and smoke on him and something else beneath it, something wild and dangerous. Who are you? She asked. Cade, he said. Alpha of the Bloodveil Pack. Her breath caught. The Bloodveil Pack was the Silver Fang's oldest rival, fierce, ruthless, and feared across the realms. Then you shouldn't be here, she said carefully. Neither should you, Cade countered, his lips curving into a faint smile. But here we are. Their eyes locked, the air thick with unspoken tension. She could sense his power, the dominance that radiated off him in waves. And beneath it a curiosity, almost like recognition. But that was impossible. He reached out suddenly, his hand catching her wrist before she could step back. The contact sent a jolt through her, sharp, electric, undeniable. Ava gasped. The moon mark flared under her skin, glowing faintly through the fabric of her cloak. Cade's eyes widened. What is that? None of your concern, she snapped, pulling free. But his hand lingered in the air, as though the heat of her touch had branded him. That mark, he said slowly, isn't supposed to react like that, unless... Unless what? She demanded. He hesitated. Then, quietly, unless the bond wasn't broken. Ava's pulse hammered. That's impossible. He rejected me. The moon doesn't always obey an Alpha-S pride, Cade said, voice low. Sometimes it obeys the heart. He took another step closer, and she didn't move. The space between them pulsed with tension, thick and magnetic. His eyes traced the faint glow of her mark, and for a moment, she thought he'd reach out to touch it to test if it would react again. Instead, he stepped back, a shadow passing over his face. Be careful, Ava Rowan, he said softly. There's a storm coming. And your Alpha isn't the only one with claims under the moon. Then he shifted again, fur, claws, amber eyes, and vanished into the forest. The blood moon's warning. That night, Ava dreamed. She stood in the same clearing where Luca had rejected her, but the air was heavy with fog. The moon above bled crimson, the blood moon, an omen of chaos. Voices whispered through the mist her name, over and over. Ava. 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 When she turned, she saw two figures: Luca, with silver eyes and clenched fists, and Cade, half shadow, half light, watching her with something almost protective in his gaze. The moon split above them, and the light burned through her skin. She gasped, waking with her heart racing. Outside, the first howl of the blood moon echoed through the valley. And in that moment, she knew whatever had begun that night on the cliff wasn't over. It was only beginning. Back in Silverfang territory, Luca Draven hadn't slept since the rejection. The moment he'd spoken the words, something inside him had twisted, a sharp, lingering ache he couldn't explain. He'd told himself it was weakness, that rejecting Ava was necessary. His father's voice still echoed in his head, an alpha needs power beside him, not heart. And yet, every time the wind shifted, he could swear he still smelled her wildflowers and rain. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the look in hers when she turned away. He convinced himself it would fade. But it hadn't. When his beta entered his study, Luca was already pacing. "You've heard the news?" the beta asked. "Which one?" "A rogue was spotted on our borders last night." "Not just any rogue, Cade, the Bloodveil Alpha." Luca froze. "What was he doing here?" "We don't know. But rumor says he met with someone." "A woman?" Something cold and primal coiled in Luca's gut. "Find out who," he said. "Now." The beta hesitated. "Luca, if he's after Ava." "He's not," Luca cut in sharply. But the denial rang hollow, even to him. When the beta left, Luca slammed his fist against the wall, splintering the wood. He told himself he didn't care. He told himself he'd made the right choice. He told himself she meant nothing anymore. So why, when he looked out into the forest, did he feel like a piece of his soul was missing Ava's awakening? Over the next few days, the forest grew restless. The blood moon stirred magic in the air, ancient, unpredictable, dangerous. Ava felt it pulsing through her veins, calling to something buried deep inside her. One night, she ventured into the woods again, drawn by whispers only she could hear. There, beneath an ancient oak, she found symbols carved into the earth glowing faintly with lunar energy. She knelt, tracing them with trembling fingers. They pulsed in response, like a heartbeat. A vision struck her: wolves howling, flames rising, and the two alphas standing at the heart of the chaos. Her mark burned fiercely, a searing reminder of the bond that refused to die. Then she heard footsteps behind her. She turned, expecting danger. It was Cade. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "Neither should you," she replied. "I came because the moon called me." Their eyes met and something shifted. Not just attraction, not just curiosity, recognition. "You feel it too, don't you?" he asked. Ava hesitated, then nodded. "It's like it's pulling us together." "The moon doesn't pull without reason," he murmured. He stepped closer, his voice lowering. "Tell me, Ava, when he rejected you, did you feel the bond break, or twist?" She swallowed hard. "It felt like it tore, but something stayed behind." "Then it's not over," he said. He tried to sever a bond that still lives. The air around them pulsed with lunar energy, crackling between them like fire. Ava felt it rise in her chest, heat flooding her veins as Cade reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're not meant to be anyone's castaway, Luna," he whispered. "And what am I meant to be?" then she breathed. "Something far greater." For a heartbeat, they stood inches apart, the world narrowing to the sound of their breathing, the pulse of the moon mark, and the wild thrum of fate. Then, as if drawn by forces neither could control, he leaned closer and the mark on her chest flared like molten light. Ava's heartbeat still thrummed with the echo of Cade's words. "You're not meant to be anyone's castaway, Luna. You're something far greater." Those words clung to her like a spell, dangerous, intoxicating, impossible to forget. She could still feel the heat of his nearness. The air around them had pulsed like living flame, charged with the moon's restless energy. It wasn't just attraction, it was the bond's cruel reminder that fate had not finished weaving its threads. But Ava wasn't a naive girl anymore. She knew what it meant to stand between two alphas. It was fire and war. And both could burn her alive. Cade didn't return the next day. Or the next. Ava told herself that was good, that his absence gave her room to think, to breathe. But every night, when the wind shifted, she found herself searching for his scent in the air, that blend of pine and smoke that made her heart ache in ways she couldn't explain. Her mark glowed faintly beneath her tunic whenever she thought of him, an unspoken reminder that the moon itself seemed to be playing some cruel game. By the third night, she couldn't ignore the pull any longer. She followed the whisper of the forest to the edge of a river, and there he was. Cade stood in the water, bare-chested, his skin silvered by moonlight. Scars marked his body like poetry written in battle and survival. He was no ordinary alpha, he was war-made flesh. "You shouldn't be here," he said without turning. "You keep saying that," she replied softly, stepping closer. "Yet here I am." He turned, and his amber eyes caught the light. "You're tempting fate." "Maybe fate needs tempting," she whispered. A small smile curved his lips, not amusement, but admiration. "You have spirit, Ava Rowan. I see why he fears you." Her breath caught. "Luca doesn't fear me." "Then why reject you?" "Because he wanted power more than truth." Cade stepped closer, water rippling around him. "Then he's a fool. The moon doesn't make mistakes." She wanted to argue, but the way he looked at her, steady, reverent, as though she were something rare, made words dissolve in her throat. He reached out slowly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. His fingers were calloused, warm, and when they touched her skin, the mark on her chest flared molten, alive. Ava gasped softly, her pulse quickening. Cade's gaze dropped to the faint glow. "It reacts to me," he murmured. "It shouldn't." "Nothing about this makes sense," she said, voice trembling. "Maybe the moon is trying to rewrite what was broken." He leaned in, close enough that she could feel the whisper of his breath against her skin, and for a heartbeat, she thought he might kiss her. But before the moment could break, a howl tore through the night, sharp, commanding, unmistakable. A Silver Fang patrol. Cade stiffened. "They're hunting near the border." "Then you should go," she said quickly. He didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on hers, full of something fierce and unspoken. "If they find me with you, they'll call it betrayal," she warned. "Let them," he said quietly. "They already see you as lost. I see you as found." Her heart twisted. Cade. But he was already shifting for rippling, eyes blazing gold before vanishing into the trees. The river was still again. And Ava stood alone beneath the moon, her chest aching with a strange, dangerous hope. By dawn, the forest was buzzing with tension. Luca stood at the edge of the Silver Fang border, his beta beside him, scanning the footprints in the dirt. "Blood veil scent," the beta said grimly. "And it's recent." Luca's jaw tightened. The smell was unmistakable: pine, smoke, and something else. Something that made his wolf grow restless. "He was here," Luca muttered. "Cade." "Yes. And he wasn't alone." The beta hesitated. "You think he's after her?" "He won't touch her," Luca growled. The words came from instinct, possessive and primal, before he could stop himself. The beta shot him a questioning look, but didn't speak. Luca's fists clenched. He hated this, the way the rejection still echoed through his soul, the way the bond refused to die. Every time the moon rose, he felt her pain. And now another alpha was circling her. He had made his choice for power, for the pack, for his father's legacy. But the price was beginning to taste like ash. "Double the patrols," he ordered. "If Cade crosses the line again, I'll handle him myself." The beta nodded, but there was unease in his eyes. The Bloodveil Alpha wasn't known for mercy, and neither was Luca. That night, Ava traveled to the edge of the Whispering Woods, a place most wolves avoided. Ancient energy lingered there, older than any alpha line. The moon's light pooled through the branches, illuminating a small stone shrine. The oracle was waiting. She was ageless, skin pale as frost, eyes blind yet all-seeing. Her voice was soft, like the rustle of leaves. You seek answers, child of the moon. I seek truth, Ava said. About the bond. About what's happening to me. The oracle tilted her head. You carry two threads now. One broken, one newly woven. The moon binds you twice, once to pain, once to power. Ava's heart pounded. What does that mean? It means your first mate's rejection did not free you. The moon redirected the bond. It chose another. Cade, Ava whispered. The oracle smiled faintly. Two alphas, one heart. The moon rarely errs, but when it does, it demands balance. Balance. The blood moon approaches, the oracle said. When it rises full, one bond will break, and the other will claim. But beware, child, the heart you choose will shape the fate of both packs. The forest seemed to shudder at her words. Ava took a step back, her pulse racing. You mean the packs will go to war, if you cannot master the fire between you? Yes. The oracle lifted her hand. The moon mark burns not as punishment, but as promise. Trust its light or be consumed by it. Then the world around Ava dissolved into silver mist, and she found herself standing alone in the woods, the oracle gone. When Ava returned to her cabin that night, a familiar scent already filled the air. Luca. He was standing by the window, half-shadowed, his silver eyes reflecting the moonlight. His presence filled the small space, raw and commanding. You shouldn't be here, she said, echoing words she had spoken to Cade days earlier. Neither should you, he said darkly. You've been seen with him. Her breath caught. You've been spying on me. I had to know if the rumors were true. He stepped closer, and she could feel the bond tug, faint but alive. His eyes softened, just for a second. You shouldn't be near him, Ava. He's dangerous. You mean like you? She asked bitterly. You hurt me, Luca. You broke what the moon made. He flinched. I did what I thought was right for my pack. And now you're here to what? Fix it? Command me again. To protect you, he said quietly. The blood veil alpha, he's not what he seems. Ava's mark throbbed, glowing faintly. You're one to talk about masks. Luca reached out suddenly, catching her hand. The bond flared, not the weak echo it had been, but a surge of living energy that made them both gasp. His fingers tightened, and for a moment the air between them shimmered, the moon mark blazing brighter than ever before. It's still there, he breathed. You said the moon made a mistake, she whispered. I was wrong. The silence stretched between them, heavy with all the words neither had said. Regret. Desire. Fury. Then he stepped back, his voice low. He's using you, Ava. Don't let the blood veil alpha twist what's left of us. Her eyes flashed. And what's left, Luca? A scar. Without another word, he turned and left, his scent fading into the night. But his presence lingered in the air, in her chest, in the way the moon mark refused to dim. The next evening, the valley erupted in chaos. A patrol had gone missing near the border. Smoke rose from the trees, and distant howls echoed through the night. The blood veil pack had struck. Ava ran toward the cliffs, her wolf senses screaming with alarm. The air reeked of fire and blood. The two packs, Silverfang and Bloodveil, were tearing into each other under the fractured moonlight. She spotted Cade through the smoke, shifting mid-leap, claws colliding with another wolf's. His strength was terrifying, his movements fluid and feral. Luca wasn't far away, his silver wolf form locked in battle with one of Cade's lieutenants. And there between them stood her mark, glowing brighter than ever. The moon above pulsed red, casting everything in its furious glow. Ava fell to her knees, clutching her chest as the mark seared. 2 bonds, 2 alphas, and 1 heart torn between them. The oracle's warning echoed in her mind: when the blood moon rises full, one bond will break, and the other will claim. As the battle raged, Ava's power surged. The moon mark flared, sending ripples of energy across the clearing. Wolves froze mid-fight, stunned by the pulse of raw lunar force emanating from her. Both alphas turned toward her, Cade, bloodied and fierce, and Luca, silver-eyed and breathless. They saw her glowing with the moon's light, standing between them like a living flame. "Enough!" she cried. "This isn't what the moon wants." The earth trembled beneath her feet. The moon above pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her mark blazed so bright it hurt to look at. Luca and Cade both stopped, their wolves lowering their heads instinctively. For the first time, even the forest seemed to bow. Ava took a step forward, her voice steady but shaking with emotion. "You both think this is about pride and power. But the moon didn't bind me to rule, it bound me to unite." The wind howled, carrying her words through the valley. "If you can't see that, then you'll both lose me." Silence followed, deep and absolute. Then, as if the moon itself sighed, the red light began to fade. The Bloodveil wolves retreated. The Silver Fangs regrouped. And the battle ended as suddenly as it began. When the dawn came, the forest lay quiet again. Smoke curled through the air, and the faint scent of ash lingered. Ava sat beneath the same oak where she had first met Cade, exhaustion pulling at her bones. Her mark was dim again, but it pulsed softly, no longer in pain, but in rhythm. Balance. Cade approached from the trees, limping slightly, his clothes torn. "You stopped a war tonight," he said. "I didn't," she murmured. "The moon did." He smiled faintly. Then maybe the moon finally got something right. Their eyes met, full of exhaustion, longing, and a promise of something neither fully understood yet. And somewhere, far across the valley, Lucas stood on the cliffs, watching the dawn rise, his heart heavy with the realization that fate wasn't finished with any of them yet. The scent of iron and ash still clung to the air, but now, beneath it, a gentler fragrance lingered. Rain. Pine. And something warm, wild, unmistakable: Cade. Ava stood at the edge of the campfire's glow, her cloak torn, her heartbeat a soft drum against her ribs. Around her, healers moved quietly, tending to the wounded. Yet her mind wasn't on them. It was on him, the Alpha of Bloodveil, standing a few paces away, his shoulders catching the moonlight, every movement sharp and powerful. He looked different now. The battle had stripped him bare, not of his armor or command, but of the walls he kept around his heart. There was a faint cut across his cheek, a scar that seemed to burn brighter than the fire behind him. And when his eyes found hers, Ava forgot how to breathe. Cade crossed the clearing in 3 long strides. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said, voice low, roughened by exhaustion and something she couldn't quite name. "Your pack might call you a traitor for standing near me." She met his gaze. "And yours might call you weak for saving me." The silence stretched between them like drawn silk. Somewhere in the trees, a wolf howled long and mournful, echoing the unspoken words in both their throats. "You fought well," he said finally. "So did you, she whispered. His hand rose before he seemed to realize it, fingers brushing a streak of dirt from her cheek. His touch was brief, almost accidental, yet it sent a rush of warmth through her veins, awakening something ancient inside her. The moon mark on her wrist pulsed faintly, answering his. Ava took a step back, heart trembling. "It's not supposed to react to you," she said softly. "It's meant for another." Cade's expression darkened. "Maybe fate doesn't care about rules." He turned away, as if the words had cost him something. His voice dropped lower. "The bond between us, it shouldn't exist. But I feel it. Every time you breathe, it pulls me closer." Her lips parted. The pull was real, raw and undeniable. She had felt it since the blood moon, since the moment his eyes had met hers across the battlefield. It wasn't just magic, it was recognition. The kind that tore through sense and loyalty alike. "You can't," she said, though her voice trembled. "I'm promised to Luca. You know that." He looked back, eyes catching the firelight like molten gold. "I know. But tell me you don't feel this." She couldn't. Not without lying. Cade's hand brushed hers, their fingers almost meeting, almost, and then the sound of footsteps broke the moment. A messenger appeared at the edge of the clearing, breathless. Alpha Cade scouts from Silver Fang. "They're approaching." The fragile quiet shattered. Duty reclaimed them both. Cade turned toward the forest, his command voice snapping back into place. "Keep the guards sharp, no one enters without my word." Ava hesitated, torn between reason and instinct. Then she whispered, "Cade, whatever this is, it'll destroy us." He glanced at her over his shoulder. "Or save us." And then he was gone, disappearing into the mist, leaving her heart echoing with the ghost of his words. Ava couldn't sleep. Her body was weary, but her mind replayed Cade's words, "Maybe fate doesn't care about rules." She rose from her tent, wrapped in her cloak, and followed the path leading toward the cliffs beyond camp. The forest seemed to breathe with her, each step stirring the hush of leaves and the smell of wet earth. The pull of the moon mark guided her, faint but certain, as though an invisible thread linked her heart to another S. When she reached the overlook, he was already there. Cade stood at the edge of the cliff, cloak stirring in the wind, his profile sharp against the moonlit valley below. His senses had caught her approach long before she spoke. His posture shifted, a soft exhale escaping him. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly, without turning. "I couldn't sleep," she replied. He looked over his shoulder. The look in his eyes, fierce, tired, yearning, struck something deep within her. "And you thought finding me would help?" She smiled faintly. "It never does. But I came anyway." A muscle worked in his jaw. He turned back toward the horizon, voice low. "Your Alpha 1T forgive this." "Neither will yours," she murmured. They stood side by side, the night air wrapping around them. The valley below shimmered with moonlight, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. She could hear the slow rhythm of his breathing, the faint rustle as his hand brushed his sword hilt, the subtle tension in his shoulders. And beneath it all, the pulse of the moon mark, syncing with hers. "Cade," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What happens when two marks cross, when destiny makes a mistake?" He turned toward her, eyes shadowed but burning. "Maybe it's not a mistake. Maybe it's a choice." Their gazes locked. The distance between them dissolved into something fragile and dangerous. His hand rose slowly, hovering near her face, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his skin. You don't have to be afraid of it, he murmured. I'm not afraid of the bond, she said, breath trembling. I'm afraid of what it will cost. He hesitated, then stepped closer, so close that her cloak brushed against his chest. The scent of him, wild and clean and edged with smoke, surrounded her. His voice dropped lower, rough, and intimate. Tell me what you want, Ava. Not what your pack expects. Not what duty demands. Just you. Her throat tightened. The truth swelled in her chest like a secret begging to be freed. I don't know what I want anymore. Yes, he said softly, you do. The words hung between them, raw and honest. The longing in his eyes wasn't something she could ignore. She reached up without thinking, fingertips grazing the scar on his cheek, the one he'd earned saving her. His breath caught, neither of them moved for a long moment. The night pressed close, the forest whispering like an audience to their silence. Then Cade leaned forward, his voice a rasp. If I touch you, I want to be able to stop. Her heart pounded. Then don't stop. The distance between them vanished. His hand slid to the back of her neck, drawing her closer until the air trembled with the force of everything unsaid. Their lips met not fiercely, but with the slow inevitability of a tide finally reaching the shore. The kiss carried all the things they denied: the pull of fate, the ache of defiance, the whisper of a bond that shouldn't exist. When they parted, breathless, Ava pressed her forehead to his. This can't happen again. He smiled faintly, though his eyes were full of fire. Then tell the moon to stop pulling the tide. A gust of wind swept between them, breaking the moment. Ava stepped back, her heart still trembling. She could feel the bond burning beneath her skin, alive, dangerous, impossible to ignore. Cade didn't reach for her again, but his gaze followed her as she turned away. As she disappeared into the trees, he whispered to the empty night, "You're already mine, whether you admit it or not." And in the darkness, her moon mark flared in answer. Morning came too soon. Mist crawled from the valley, wrapping the camp in ghost-white fog. Every sound felt muffled, unreal, as though the night had never happened. Ava moved among the healers, pretending calm, though her pulse still carried the rhythm of last night's kiss. Each time she caught sight of the moon mark on her wrist, her stomach tightened. The faint silver glow refused to fade, proof of what had passed between her and Cade. A shout broke across the camp. Guards rushed toward the outer ring, weapons drawn. A figure strode through the mist, tall, broad-shouldered, eyes the color of storm clouds. Luca. His armor bore the crest of Silver Fang, dulled by travel and battle dust, but his presence still commanded the air. Warriors bowed their heads as he passed. When his gaze found Ava, the world narrowed to the space between them. She froze. The fog coiled tighter. Luca stopped only a few paces away. "You've been here all night," he said. His voice was even, but the weight behind it was worse than anger. "With him." Ava swallowed. "We talked. That's all." His eyes flicked to her wrist. The glow of the moon mark betrayed her. For an instant, pain cracked through his composure. "You're marked again," he whispered. "By another?" Before she could speak, Cade stepped from the trees, calm and unflinching. The two alphas faced each other like twin storms. "This isn't your ground, Silverfang," Cade said. "Take your men and go." Luca's jaw tightened. "Not until she answers me." Ava's breath hitched. She could feel the tension rising like a tide, wolves on both sides inching closer, hands on hilts. "Stop this," she said, stepping between them. Both of you. Luca's gaze never left Cade. He bound you to him. You let him. The accusation struck deep. Ava's voice trembled. It wasn't he like that. I didn't he choose, the moon did. Cade's expression softened for an instant, then hardened again. The moon doesn't he choose lightly. Then why her? Luca shot back. She was mine. The world seemed to hold its breath. Ava could almost hear the whisper of destiny shifting. I was promised to you, she said, forcing the words out, but never truly yours. The bond was fading before I even met him. The confession cracked something in Luca's eyes. He looked between them, Ava's trembling hands, Cade's steady stance, and exhaled a sound somewhere between a growl and a sigh. You think the moon cares for hearts, it cares for balance. And this, he gestured at them, is chaos. Cade took a slow step forward. Sometimes chaos is what breaks the curse. Steel rang as both men drew their blades, moonlight glinting on the edges. The packs shifted uneasily. Don't, Ava pleaded. If you fight, the valley will burn. Luca's gaze flicked toward her, softened for a heartbeat, then steeled again. Then tell him to stand down. Cade's eyes never left Luca. I will when you accept what's already written. The moment snapped. Luca lunged. The clash of metal split the mist, sparks flying as Alpha met Alpha. Warriors shouted, wolves snarled, and the ground itself seemed to tremble beneath their fury. Ava ran forward, her voice lost in the chaos. She felt the pull of both marks, the fading thread to Luca, the blazing one to Cade, tearing through her chest like fire. The battle was swift but brutal. Luca's sword cut a red line across Cade's arm. Cade answered with a strike that sent Luca to one knee. Enough! Ava cried, throwing herself between them. Her cloak flared, the moon mark blazing white. The light stopped both men cold. A pulse rolled out from her, rippling through the clearing. Wolves on both sides dropped their weapons, stunned. The moon itself seemed to answer, clouds parting to spill light over her. When the radiance faded, all three were breathing hard. Cade's blade hung loose at his side. Luca's hand shook. Ava looked at them, one wounded in body, the other in pride, and whispered, "This isn't what the moon wants." Silence followed. Even the forest seemed to listen. Then Luca sheathed his sword. "I'll go," he said quietly. "But know this, Ava, the bond between us may fade, but my love for you won't. And when the moon tests you again, remember who you were before him." He turned and disappeared into the mist, his warriors following like shadows. When the last of them was gone, Cade let his sword fall. Blood streaked his arm, but he didn't seem to notice. He looked at Ava as though seeing her for the first time, not as an enemy's mate, but as something sacred and dangerous all at once. "You stopped us," he said softly. "I stopped myself," she replied. "I couldn't lose either of you." He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're stronger than both our packs combined." A faint smile curved her lips. "Then maybe it's time someone stronger decided what comes next." Above them, the moon shone clear and bright, a promise and a warning in one. The war was paused, not ended, the bonds tangled, not broken. But for this night, peace held fragile, luminous, alive. Dawn came quietly, pouring pale gold across the valley. Smoke from the battle still drifted through the air, soft and thin, like the ghosts of what had nearly been lost. Ava stood on the cliff's edge, cloak whipping in the morning wind. Below her, the two packs gathered, Bloodveil and Silverfang, enemies bound now by an uneasy truce. She had called them here at first light. The moon mark on her wrist glowed softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. She had not slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw them both: Luca's steady sorrow, Cade's wild devotion. The pull between duty and desire still tore through her, but now something stronger guided her. Understanding. Cade approached from behind, his steps silent, but she felt him before he spoke. His scent, the faint rasp of his breath familiar now, a part of her. "You summoned them," he said. "Both packs. Together." "I had to," she replied. "This can't go on. The moon chose this bond for a reason. We've been fighting against it, but maybe it was never meant to divide us." Cade's gaze searched her face. "And Luca, will he listen?" Ava turned toward the horizon, where the silver fang banners fluttered. "He will. He still believes in me, even if it breaks him." A horn sounded from below. Luca's troops entered the clearing. He rode at their head, silver armor glinting in the light. When he dismounted, his eyes found hers not with anger, but with resignation. They met in the center of the field where the earth was still scarred from their last battle. Between them, the moon mark shimmered like liquid light on Ava's wrist, the same glow reflected faintly on Cade's. "What is this?" Luca asked quietly. "A surrender." "No," she said. "A choice." She looked at them both, then at the packs surrounding them. "The moon mark wasn't given to enslave us. It's a bond to restore balance. The two of you, your hatred, your rivalry, it's tearing our kind apart. But if we unite under one oath, one purpose, we can end centuries of bloodshed." Cade's eyes narrowed slightly. "And if they refuse?" "Then I'll stand alone," she said simply. "But I don't think I will." For a long moment, neither Alpha moved. The wind carried the scent of pine and steel. Then, slowly, Luca stepped forward. "If peace is the moon's will," he said, "then so be it." He looked to Cade. "But know this, I yield to no man. Only to fate." Cade inclined his head, eyes steady. "Then let fate have its way." Ava lifted her wrist. The mark flared, white and silver entwining like twin flames. The light spilled over the field, bathing both packs in its glow. The earth trembled, not in destruction, but renewal. Grass pushed through the scorched soil. The smell of ash faded, replaced by rain and life. Every wolf in the valley felt it, the pull of unity, the call of something greater than pride or vengeance. The Bloodveil and Silver Fang warriors lowered their weapons as if waking from a long dream. When the light faded, Ava swayed, her strength nearly gone. Cade caught her before she fell, his arms steady around her. "You did it," he murmured. She looked up at him, exhaustion softening her voice. "We did it." Lucas stood nearby, watching. There was grief in his eyes, but also peace. "The bond chose well," he said. "Guard her, Cade. She'll need your strength." Cade nodded, solemn. "And she'll always have it." Luca turned away, giving them space. The two packs began to merge, healers tending to both sides, warriors exchanging cautious nods. The war was over, not with conquest, but with surrender to destiny. Ava leaned against Cade, her heartbeat slowing. "The moon's quiet now," she whispered. "Do you hear it?" He smiled faintly. "I hear you." She looked up at him, the Alpha who had once been her enemy, the man the moon had chosen for her heart. Around them, the valley breathed again, alive and green. For the first time, she felt the bond not as a chain, but as wings. Cade brushed his thumb along her jaw, voice low. So what now, Luna? Ava smiled soft, sure, radiant. Now we rebuild. Together. He bent his head until their foreheads touched. The moment lingered, a promise sealed in the light of a new dawn. Above them, the moon faded into the brightening sky, its work done. And as the sun rose over the joined packs, Ava whispered to the wind, bound by the moon mark and free by its grace.